Wait a minute, don't go so fast. I got to talk about it a little bit. This is the basis of what I'm about. I think, you know, I think you have to go to school to learn stuff so you can forget it. You know what I'm saying? So you can forget it, but you have to learn it. If you don't learn it, you can't forget it. It's like you have to clear your mind of everything you know in order to be original, to get inside yourself. If you're not, you're just I can do pots just like they did in the Chinese Ming Dynasty, you know? You haven't cleansed yourself yet. You don't want to do someone else's pots. You don't want to do my pots. You don't want to do Ferguson's pots. You don't want to do Pete's pots or anybody else's pots. But you learn from those guys. You learn from everything you can learn from. Get knowledge. Learn, and then throw it out. You can only throw it out when you've learned it. If you haven't learned it, it's like our students, they want to start at the beginning. You know, they want to start right now doing the latest artist type work. It's like, that is so dumb. You know, you don't even know who the hell you are. And you're trying to do so-and-so's work. It's like, forget it, man. You're going to wind up doing nothing. Come on in, guys. It's okay that you're late. We'll just haggle you a little bit.
Come on in.
Come on in, please. Please, let's all point at them, okay? Little late. That's the mascot. Are there a couple seats we can give to these folks?
There's a chair right here, right by the thing.
Here, I'm here.
Anybody sitting right there?
We appreciate you coming. Come on in. You can stand there if you want to. What are you mad about?
Who, me?
Yeah.
I'm not mad. I'm rolling with the flow.
I don't know. I thought maybe you're ready to attack me. You know. So, you got to watch out for those people from Detroit. I'll tell you that, man. Woo! Anyway, once you've cleared your mind of everything you know, once you've learned everything you possibly can, try to forget it. Someone said, and I'll say it again, I think, I don't know if I'm going to say it right. You have to empty your mind of knowledge in order to find knowledge. Does that make any sense? You have to empty your mind. You know, if as an artist or anything else, if you go into your studio and you're thinking like, oh, I like so-and-so, I'm going to do work like so-and-so and so-and-so, you're just fooling yourselves. And there's no recipe for getting inside your own gut. You know, the various artists have tried different things. The surrealist tried all kinds of things, like Kandinsky would lie down and just before he went to sleep, he'd jump up and start painting, so he could paint without knowing. You know?
That's a good one.
Yeah, it's a great one, isn't it? Or they take drugs. You know, think of drugs, you know, get me out of my mind so I can work in my subconscious mind. That is not the answer. That is so sad, you know? What you have to do, I think, is get so in zone with what you're doing, and it's you, and everything you know, everything that you have learned is there. But you don't have to think, well, I'm going to do it like this, you know, I'm going to put this over there. It's like, well, I learned if you put this stroke up here, you've got to repeat it with a stroke down here. I learned that. And if you put a curve here, then you got to put a curve down there. You learned that. Now it's time to forget that stuff, because it was in you already.
Yeah, your body will remember.
It was in you. We are a product of this unbelievable, unreal cosmos, right?
Yes.
Yeah? Yeah. You already know everything. It's like I said earlier. Put those twins up to your head and say, "Tell me before you forget." You know. So I like things that just came out of nature. I like the stars. My paintings right now are all about trying to be in space. But I like things like this. Look at that. Look at that tree. Can you believe that? As a piece of sculpture coming out of pottery that I got a wooden pedestal and put it on a pedestal to say, don't put anything in this, man. Just eat what you see. And like Pete used to say to me, my friend Peter, we used to talk a lot about shit like this. And he said to me, he says, well, I used to tell people like you, this is not to eat out of with your belly. It's to eat with your eyes. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
Eat with your eyes and feed your soul. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, man, you're right. Thanks for telling me. Anyway, go on. And a plate, same time. So go on. I'm going to have to start going pretty fast pretty soon. I'm going to go into the 60s. These were in the 50s. In the 60s, I got much more experimental. This is also a cover thing, but I became friends with Thomas Hart Benton. Who lived in Kansas City, and he was an old man, and somehow I got to meet him, and I wanted to meet him. See, I'm interested in all artists, not just abstract expressionists. I wanted to meet Tom Benton, who was a realist or a regionalist. You guys come on in. Or I think we're having a party over here. Oh, okay, whatever. So I said to him one day, I said, Tom, I'd like to, I got a commission to do a portrait of Tom Benton, which was going to be given as a peace trophy to some major humanitarian, which happened to be a man by the name of John Gardner. He probably doesn't mean anything to you, but he's a fine man out of Washington, D.C. And that's okay. So I did that. The upper part is basically that, and I cast it in bronze. But I said, Pete, do you mind if I play around with it? I'd like to make some funny things, like maybe a bank, so people put coins in your head. So on. And he said, that's hilarious, man. That's fantastic. Do it. So this is a bank. Got a hole in his head. You put coins in it. This is out of order. Probably one of the first true piece of ceramics that I felt truly was sculpture. It's racoud. It's in an open fire, and I threw it in and threw things on it and had low fire glazes on it, and that's the way it came out. Glued to that brick, got pieces of brick glued onto it, and so on. And to me, it was as important to me as the fur-lined cup and saucer was to the Surrealist movement. Okay, let's go. So these are all from the 60s. Let's just keep going. You can see they're takeoffs on things you use, but these are to feed your mind and make you say, what the hell is that? What is this guy? And they're pretty large, and so on. Sort of fanciful, sort of fairyland kind of things.
What's large, Jim?
About like that. I was working in that scale at that time, and what I was trying to do was trying to see how far I could push the clay before it would fall down, It was a technical thing too. You can't get away from that, You're dealing with clay, and if you push it too far, it's going to fall over. So you have to learn how to push it so it won't fall over and still go up. Yeah. Okay. Also from the 60s. Began about like that.
Do you have some rocks in there yet?
No, there's no rocks yet. This is all clay and earth. There's no paint in these yet. Go ahead. Slips. And the show I had in early 60s when I first went to Kansas City. And it was a show of my work. Paintings and sculptures and pots and...
This is the toilet bowl urine.
Yeah, it's a real toilet bowl.
That's what I was reading.
Yeah, because it's made out of clay. So, you know, hey, let me put some flowers in and put it on a pedestal. These are all from the 60s. I'm going to go fast now because I got a lot of slides and... I built this guy. It's about like so. And Pete came over and he says, that dog looks like it's starving. I mean, man. Yeah. Put that bowl on there so we have something to eat out of. Bowl? Yeah, Pete made the bowl. Pete, Bocus made the bowl. Still 60s. Then I finally, you know, really wanted to build something tall. That's, and that's me. You know, it's like, that's like a monument to myself. You know, it's like, yeah, Jim Lady, look at it, got horns. I mean, I've got, well, actually, that's a mold that I made from a wolf. Yeah, I was in Montana and I was camping out. I know you're going to think this is a lie, and that's okay. But I was camping out, and I was pulling some stuff out of my back of my van, and I kept hearing a noise rustling in the back, and I looked back, and there was a wolf back there. Yeah, sort of about, 50 feet or so away. Oh, my God. And in Montana, you'll always have to carry a shovel in case there's a fire, because you will be elected, no matter who you are or what you do. If there's a fire, you're going to work. And I had a shovel in there, and I reached for it, and I heard this thing coming at me. And just in time, true story, honest to God, just in time I looked around, and this thing was leaping at me. And I had the shovel in my hand, and I went, shoo. As I turned, caught him right there and cut his throat, and he fell. And he had foam. I called the park department, so I was in the state park, and they came and they said, yes, this was a rabid wolf. So you're a lucky man. So I always used to carry a bag of plaster in my car. You find something dead on the highway, take a cast, man. Well, use that somehow. And you're going to see, I made a lot of things of casts of animals, and a lot of people think, God, that looks like a real animal. I say, no, it's just a cast. Anyway, so that's where I got that wolf's head. And more pieces just trying to climb up to the sky, like the bean pole or whatever it is. Yeah, thank you. And I've always been a painter. I never ever said I'm a potter, I'm a sculptor, I'm a painter, I'm a printmaker, I'm a performist. I always said I'm an artist. That gives me license to be a potter if I want to be a painter if I want to be whatever I want to be. So I always painted. Now, I have to tell you a little story about these, though. When I was in Korea, I had an experience, horrible experience. There was a let-up in the war, and a pal of mine, we slipped out and went down to a river that was flowing by, and there was a dog leg where it hit and turned, and it was real calm, just so calm and beautiful, and I just jumped into it and swam out. You could see your own image in the water. And I got out in the middle of this thing, and I looked through my own image, and I saw hundreds of dead bodies, rotting bodies in this stream. Sorry, but it's true, because it had a profound impact, as you will see later, on my art, on my life. You know, I do believe Jesus could walk on water, because I sure the hell walked out of there. And so I couldn't get it out of my system. I did bones and skulls for years, until finally I did a piece that I'll show you later that I have never done a bones and skull since. Okay, still in the 60s. This is all about like that, you know. All right. More. That belongs to the, I don't know, some museum somewhere.
It must be in backwards. All.
No, I made it that way. I made it.
Oh,
No, I'm kidding. All American Boy.
my dyslexia is not.
All American Boy. And I love horses. I grew up with horses, and my children have horses.
We got the horse lady in house.
Horses! Let's go ride some horses.
That's it.
There you go. Okay.
We done, Jim.
All right. Let's keep going. It's a story with every one of these things. You know, this is a friend of mine that owned a gallery in Kansas City, a good friend of mine, and he got killed on a motorcycle, and I made this in honor to him. He was an airplane pilot that flew, you know, like Northwest and that sort of stuff, and he loved speed. And a week before he got killed, he called me up and says, "We've been talking about making a mask of my face. You got to do it now." I said, "Okay, I'll come over with some plaster and do it." And I made a mask of his face, and he left and got killed. It's like he knew somehow. And so,
That night you left?
yeah. And he got killed on his way to St. Louis. And so I made this monument to my friend, Jim Morgan. And that's a one-man show of mine somewhere. I don't know where that is. I think University of Kansas or somewhere. This one I made in Montana when Mount St. Helens blew up. And the streets were just full of stuff, whatever that stuff is, silica.
Yeah.
And everybody's breathing and stopping up the cars. And I just went out with a sack and raked up a bunch of it, mixed it into my clay. And it looks like it was actually fired in a non-agama, but it's not. It's just all that silicon stuff in it. And it's about 10 feet tall.
One piece.
One piece. No, I take that back.
Was it a Bedlow kiln?
Hmm?
Was it a Bedlow kiln?
No. No, this was before Bindle came into the picture. This is early. But it comes up to about where you see that chain hanging down. That's a section, goes up there. And then there's another section on top. And the chain, I used to put chains on everything. I don't know why. They're made out of clay. And people would say, it talks like this. They say, "Man, do you feel all bound up inside?" And I said, "How did you know?" "Wow, you hit the nail on the head." No, I didn't. This is the first anagama kiln ever built in the United States. It looks like hell. Yeah. Nobody had ever made an anagama. Huh?
Where was it?
This was in southeast Ohio. I did a workshop there, and we built a kiln. And it's out of just dirt and bricks we scurried up. I wanted to fire a wood fire. I knew about wood fire, I knew about anagamas, but there were none in the States at that time. And Pete asked me, he saw it later, and he says, "Man, did you get temperature?" And I said, "Well, yeah, of course I did." After I got a hose and hooked it to my gas line and ran it down to the kiln. Whatever. I still got a good firing out of it.
Oh my God, look at this.
There they are, guys.
There it is.
That's
Oh, yeah.
we had a good time. We had a good time with our lives. That's Pete on the left. That's Rudy in the middle, and me on the right.
This is what, about 79 years?
Oh, it's in the 70s, probably.
Like Carl Perkins.
Yeah. And I did portraits, face casts of Pete and Rudy and all my friends, and that's life size with Rudy's head on top.
Oh. That's a nice piece.
That's one that's not fired yet with Pete's head on top.
I really like them like that when they're not fired like that.
Yeah, I do too. On painting in the 50s, in New York, I was like, well, I don't want to paint squares anymore. Why can't you paint a painting? Like I looked at buildings. Modern buildings that were being made, they're asymmetrical. Bigger on one side, smaller. So why don't you make paintings that fit to the asymmetrical shapes? And I did. And I had a show in New York at a place called the Panoris Gallery, and the critic from Art News said, well, oh, dang, Leddy's a very interesting painting, but we don't know why he's making these trapezium shapes. It's like, oh, God, give me a break. So these are from the 50s. Okay, keep going. This is later. You know, as I said, I love horses. I've always loved horses. They're part of my life. And my clay things. Now we're into later. Now we're going to sort of get all mixed up, you know. This is salted work. And this is work after many, many years of trying this and trying that and trying to go somewhere I had never been before. And I'm still trying to go there. But these are some of the things that came from that. It's about that high. And these two are in museums, you know. I don't own them anymore. Somewhere. I really was interested in stilted things, you know, like I really love the Shang Dynasty vessels. Do you know these things? If you don't, you ought to learn about them because they're pots standing on stilts. They were ceremonial. They weren't for use. They were ceremonial. Way back then. I said, what the hell can I make ceremonial pot? You know, what makes me any different? So these are ceremonial. By that, they're only for looking at, to feed the mind, not the stomach. This was much later. This one I did I did Hungary a few years ago, where came over as a visiting artist. They're going to be mixed up now. I'll just tell you where they were, but they're sort of in that vein. This one was made in Finland. It doesn't exist anymore, I don't think. Or maybe it's still in Finland. I have work all over the world because I make stuff and I can't get it back and whatever, you know. I give it to museums or anybody wants it. This is in Japan, in a museum in Japan at the...
Is that the ceramic art?
No, this is in a place called Himeji. There's a Himeji castle. It's very famous. Anytime you ever see a Japanese movie about shoguns and so on, that's taken at his castle.
How big is that one?
Oh, that one's about 4 feet tall. And so I took a face mask of my friend Yukio Yamamoto, who became a really good friend, and put him on there as like a shogun. And it's at a museum there. It's outside. It's fired very high in Anagama. And I have other things there. I think I'll show you later. Keep going. This one was made in Europe somewhere.